Welcome to episode number 269 of the Marine Layer podcast. We welcome on our friend Joe Doyle from the Overslot podcast. We talk about the Mariners 2025 MLB draft, some of the underrated picks they made, and where these selections rank in the M's farm system.
Here's your guys' reminder. If you want to stay on top of everything we're doing, you can do it all over at our website, marinelayerpod.com. All our episodes are there. Make sure to download, rate, and review if you're listening. Like, comment, and please hit that subscribe button on YouTube. That's the best way you can support the channel. We've got a ton of other stuff on our website as well, between merch, which we'd love to see you get, our Patreon, we'd love to have you sign up for that, and our live show schedule, which our next one, when you're listening to this on Friday, is tonight. Tonight, right after the Mariners-Astros game. We cannot wait for it. It's over at the Hall on Occidental. It's on Occidental Avenue on the north end of Lumen Field. And really, guys, we're just going to be hanging out with you. It's not going to be the same format we've done for a lot of these, where it's a true performative show, us sitting in front of everybody. We're just going to have a table set up. We're going to have some drinks and talk ball with all you guys. So any questions you have, anything that's on your mind, stop by, come on by, talk ball with us. We cannot wait for it. Again, that is right after the Mariners-Astros game tonight here on Friday, July 18th, over at the Hall on Occidental. We would love to have you. And also, all that's over on our website one more time. And if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so everywhere on social at Marine Layer Pod.
Let's get it rolling.
The pitch from Acevedo. A drive deep to right field. Down the line. The Mariners win this game 2-1. The dream lives. They're going to the playoffs. 1-1 from Jansen. There you go. Left field. We got a tie ball game. Julio. Oh, baby, what a moment. Tie ball game at 7-7.
And we welcome you to this episode of the Marine Layer podcast, part of the Just Baseball Podcast Network. Recording on Thursday evening, July 17th. We are back from All-Star Week in Atlanta. And I gotta say, fabulous experience. I want to shout out the Battery. Great venue. I want to shout out Truist Park. Fantastic place to watch a baseball game. I'm not going to shout out the summer weather in the South. It sucks.
I mean, it's nice that it's nice out, but man, we were exhausted by the end of it, which I guess is just All-Star Week in general, to be honest with you, because in All-Star Week in general, look, it's arguably my favorite week of the year. That, spring training, couple other weeks, those are some of my favorite weeks of the year. They're insanely fun, but the theme throughout all of it is you are insanely busy and you're dead tired by the end of it. And that was very much the case after All-Star Week. If you want full transparency here, my voice still isn't all the way back, as you can hear me as I'm talking through this. So my voice isn't all the way back. I'm not caught up on sleep. So we're powering through. We're trying to power our best through it. But that is just All-Star Week in a nutshell, because it is 10 to 12 hours of being out in the sun and talking with people and interviewing people and trying to get a lot of stuff done. So as fun as it is, it definitely takes a lot out of you.
What was your favorite part about the experience that from directly this weekend?
It's cliche, but can I just say Cal winning the Derby? That was sick.
That one was pretty fun. And shout out to MLB. They rigged it for him.
Oh, yes. Hey, we live in a day and age where Major League Baseball can measure the exact millimeter distance on a home run, but they still let fat dudes who are half blind call balls and strikes off the eye test behind the plate.
What was the final decimal point that they had on the screen? Weren't there like 12 decimal points in their measurements?
There were, but don't make me try to cite the decimals by exact. I don't know.
You don't need to cite the exact decimals, but like, is that like a trillionth of a foot?
Feels like it. Feels like about that.
So shout out to Major League Baseball for making our weekend a lot better by doing that. I don't know where the extra inch comes from. Is it from like an extra spin on the baseball? Is it from a little gust of wind? I don't know how exactly you come to that conclusion. Maybe it bounced funny. That would be nice if it worked out that way. Major League Baseball, Lyle, I think also tried to give Cal a little bit of a I'm gonna sound like a piece of shit for saying this. Almost tried to groove the All-Star game for him too. And what do I mean by that? What do I mean by that? So we're sitting and watching the All-Star game. We're watching on TV. And I realized who's pitching in the second inning. It's Clayton Kershaw. Clayton, by the numbers, has had a really solid year. Arguably good, in fact. But his stuff is not quite what it used to be. what it used to be.
Well,
Cal, of course, in the American League lineup is hitting 4th, and the first 3 batters go down in order against Paul Skeens in the first inning, which makes me think, oh, Cal's going to get to face Clayton Kershaw in his first career All-Star game at bat. How cool. And Clayton Kershaw comes out and throws him an 89-mile-an-hour fastball right down the middle in his first at-bat. Well, I thought that ball that he swung at was gone. I thought it was.
Oh, I thought it was gone, but 2 things. Number 1, you can say Clayton Kershaw's having a good year all you want. He's barely pitched. I know everybody got mad about the Jacob Mizorowski All-Star nod. Kershaw's barely thrown many innings. So let's call it what it is. His All-Star nod was a Mickey Mouse All-Star nod. It was.
Which is why I thought that not only did Major League Baseball rig the home run derby for him, they rigged it so he would win the All-Star game MVP as well. It was going to be him, Vladdy, or I forget who's hitting after Vladdy, but it was going to be one of those 3 because they got to face Kershaw.
Well, you're not saying it's rigged, but the general population is saying it was rigged that weekend. Or are you saying it's rigged?
The Little Mariners finally get something rigged for them. Yeah, thank goodness. I champion that. Normally I'd be against rigging, but not in this case.
The little old Mariners. Just like Davo would say, little old Clemson. God.
When was the last time the Mariners had anything rigged for them? Think about this weekend. You get Kade somehow falls to number 3. Cal wins the Derby. Cal gets an 89-mile-an-hour fastball right down the middle from Clayton Kershaw. Like, if everything is executed perfectly, Cal hits that one out of the stadium, and we're 3 for 3. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention the sweep of the Tigers. But we already talked about that on Wednesday.
Oh, TJ, I got a spin zone. I've got a spin zone.
Okay.
There's a reason Cal's fly ball line drive didn't leave the yard off Clayton Kershaw because who caught it? Don't tell me that ain't a foreshadowing.
So Cal was being nice. Cal was playing the long game.
Yes, of course he was playing the long game. And by the way, him and Kyle Tucker, same agency, both happen to be rep by Excel. So just a couple of Excel teammates lending a hand to one another. And Cal gave Kyle Tucker a front row seat to his All-Star weekend and his home run derby and says, hey, K-Tuck, look at what you're missing, buddy. You don't want to play in stupid Chicago any more than 1 year when you can play next to me and hit in front of me in Seattle for the rest of your career.
Do you want to give yourself a little pat on the back, too? Actually, we can both do this, but I'll let you go first.
I'm going to assume this is about the tweet. So, yes, of course, when I see who catches Cal's line drive in the All-Star game, I go, well, that ain't no coincidence. That ain't no coincidence who's taking Cal's fly ball and taking a hit away from him, because you're going to see those two spending a lot of time together come next spring down in Peoria. And not because Kyle Tucker's with the Cubs. No, he will be at the Peoria Sports Complex, not with the Padres, with the Mariners. So I decided to tweet out, as I realize who catches that line drive off of Cal's bat in the All-Star game. I tweet out, and I quote, catch this line drive off my bat if you're my future teammate in 6 months. It's business as usual, right? We're doing our Kyle Tucker campaign and making our sales pitch and making it known that he's going to be repping the teal next year. Well, all of a sudden, we look 24 hours later, and that tweet has 1 million views. 1 million views on Twitter. And guess what, people? For anybody outside of the Mariners circle that didn't already know and is seeing tweets like that for the first time, well, now you know. Now you know. Kyle Tucker's a Mariner. I mean,
welcome to the Marine Layer Podcast, new listeners. This is what we do.
What are the odds either Cal or Kyle Tucker actually saw that tweet? 1 million views.
Can we do it by association, like someone else showed it to them?
Dude, these players are all online.
Like, do we think Cal's on Twitter, though?
All these guys are on Twitter. They have burners. You think these guys don't pay attention to what's being said? Dude, I'm pretty sure most of the Mariners front office is on Twitter, too. We're not going to get confirmation of that, but I'm pretty sure all these people want to see what the narratives are around them. You can't tell me Kyle Tucker's...
I'll say there's a 10% chance.
All right. I like those odds. You know what? Maybe Kyle Tucker wasn't even thinking about it in his own mind until he saw the tweet, and he said, you know what? Playing with Cal Raleigh would be kind of sick. Playing with that rotation would be kind of sick. I've now been persuaded.
That's a record. How does it feel to have the record for most views on our account on any post?
So it's not the most views combined if you combine all our social platforms, but on one singular platform, yeah, that's the most. And you know what? If it's going to be anybody, I could not be more thrilled that it was a Kyle Tucker post. I could not think of a better post to reach the eyes of a million people than Kyle Tucker being a Mariner.
I'll give myself a shorter pat on the back because I predicted Cal winning the home run derby, but he has the most home runs in baseball, so not the hottest take in the world, but I did call my shot on Sunday when we recorded Wednesday's episode, and I was right. Good job, Teach. Good job. Yep. Clap it up.
Yeah, you got it.
That's all
you
I
got
need.
it.
That's all I need. Just needed them to rig it for me, and it was perfect. Any other observations down in Atlanta? And when I'm talking about getting out of that weather, Lyle, like you said, I actually see this as how bad my memory is getting already at age 27. I don't define nice weather in Atlanta. I don't know. Whoever is listening to this that might be living in the South right now and rooting for the Mariners, please explain to me in the comments how you're able to, for 3 months in a row or longer, walk outside for like 10 minutes and then essentially need to shower once you walk back inside. I don't know how you do that because get back here to Seattle on Wednesday with you, Lyle. It's the same temperature, maybe a little bit cooler. Don't feel that need.
No, not at all, because it's not as muggy. But we also spent 4 years in Arizona, and we get there in August when it was 110 plus. So it's not like you've never been in hot weather.
No, not as long in that hot weather, or not in a while at least. So, but that's really my only beef. That and Atlanta Braves security around the ballpark, which is some of the most insane stuff I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that was a joke.
Just a peek behind the curtain to not like sit here and complain too much. There is a positive and a negative, I would say, to building an entirely new ballpark and ballpark village all under one ownership group. The positive, you can design everything exactly the way you want, down to the block size, down to the width, down to exactly what you want to have in there, all these certain things. You get the plot of land out in Cobb County, away from downtown. You have all this space to build. They build up the battery. It's great. You have all these restaurant options in there. It's open container because it's all one property. So if you want to buy a drink and walk around, you can do that on that property because it's not public space and it's not public intoxication if you're walking around and drinking like that. The negative, for people like Lyle and I who are content creators, you can make whatever rules you want on that private property. And the Braves, for some reason, I don't understand why, didn't want us shooting interviews on the sidewalk. Like that, it's the craziest thing ever.
Like with fans, like us just doing baseball trivia with people. That was most of what we were doing down at All-Star Week, is doing a lot of bullpen banner content and doing baseball trivia with fans. There's nothing controversial about it. But they were like, "Oh yeah, you guys can't be filming on Battery property." We're like, "There's people all around filming."
Yeah, taking videos of their food. I was scrolling on my TikTok feed when I was down in Atlanta. And I'm seeing, come with me to, like, the All-Star Village. Come with me into the pro shop. I'm like, where's security with these people? They're actually showing things. We're, like, we're showing people on the street trying to guess, like, home run leaders from 7 years ago.
It's crazy. That was crazy. I've never seen anything like that. I don't want to spend too much time on it because I don't want to bore people, but that was insane. I've never seen security like that. It's like, you can't shoot interviews talking about baseball trivia. You'd think by the way they were telling people to, like, not be using their cameras to film. You'd think people were talking about the, like, political state of affairs. It's like, no, we're talking about baseball trivia.
That was weird. So whoever's going to Truist Park for a series, keep that in mind if you have an idea to do that.
Yeah, like our friends at Just Baseball were filming a video at the Futures game regarding Chinook seeds, and they tied in some baseball stuff with it. And it was the same thing. They got told, somebody walked up to them. It's like, what are you guys doing filming? It's like, what are you talking about? It's like, it's crazy. That is crazy. I've never seen anything like that. And apparently from word we got from people that have been to a bunch of different stadium districts and ballparks, they've only ever seen that in Atlanta and nowhere else.
Very interesting. And then on top of that, they made the draft close to the public too, for the most part. That was weird. And we heard about that from our friend Joe Doyle, who's about to come up here on this podcast.
They are. And before we get to that, let's do a couple things. Number one, another reminder that as you're listening to this, our next live show is tonight, Friday night, if you're listening here on Friday. That is after the game over at the Hall on Occidental, right after Mariners Astros. And it's going to be pretty casual, you guys. It's going to be a little different than our usual format where we do a true performative show in front of everybody. We're just going to be sitting, hanging out with you guys. We're going to be set up outside, by the way. It's going to be really nice out. We're going to be set up right on Occidental and just talking ball, answering your questions, listening to whatever takes you guys have. You guys have ideas for the trade deadline. We're literally just going to be sitting, hanging out at the bar, talking to you guys and giving out a bunch of Corona stuff as well. So if you want to show up and if you want to take part, we'd love to have you. It's at the Hall on Occidental. It's on Occidental Avenue. It's on the north end of Lumen Field. It'll be right after the game tonight after Mariners Astros. Like I said, it's going to be a blast, so come on out to it. Yeah, and then speaking of promotions, let's do another pause here because we want to talk to you guys, as always, about our friends over at Pagacci's Pub 85, which as the second half gets underway, there's going to be plenty of Mariners baseball upcoming. Say you want a spot to watch the games. Well, you can go right over there and get your friends out for a fun outing. It's over in Kirkland, a really fun neighborhood bar with great food, games. There's a jukebox, there's pool, there's darts. It's a bunch of fun. There's 20 TVs in the place, so all the sports viewing you want. And if you go during happy hour, drink specials are $3 and $4 from 2 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. So great happy hour deals. They're long happy hours. The specials are off the charts. And it's a really fun spot to hang out. So go head over there, check out Pagacci's Pub 85 over in Kirkland.
Whenever you get a chance to listen to Joe talk about the Mariners draft and talk about the draft in general, you should perk up and pay attention. Joe's got some really good insight onto some of the strategy that went into this draft for the Mariners, who some of the more underrated picks are. There's a player he mentions in here that kind of caught Lyle and I by surprise when he was explaining why he was so high on this player and why he was kind of shocked not as many people were talking about him. That's going to be something you need to pay attention to as this interview goes along. Some good insight into Kade Anderson and what the Mariners should expect with him, timeline-wise, where he ranks in the farm system, and so much more. There's some other underrated players in here. Definitely pay attention and listen to what Joe has to say in this because he knows his stuff.
Yeah, he's great. There's a reason we love to have him on right after the draft, and there's a reason we love to talk MLB draft with him because he's so knowledgeable. He covers it as well as anybody. And for all I thought we already knew about this draft class, man, we learned a ton more talking to Joe, specifically about one player that he's extremely high on. So I think you guys are really going to enjoy this one, and I think you guys are going to take a lot away from it. So hopefully you enjoy the interview.
Won't keep you guys any longer. Let's get you to the interview with Joe Doyle. All right, we got our friend Joe Doyle on with us, the host of the Overslot podcast, recurring guest, friend of the show. Joe, thanks for taking some time to join us today. It was good seeing you out there in Atlanta. What were some grades on the setup that we had? We were comparing notes last year. I'd be curious to compare how this year matches up with it.
Yeah, I mean, are you talking about the draft or are you talking about your guys' podcast setup?
The draft. Yeah, people can see our podcast set up all the time.
The draft. Yeah, no, I thought Texas was more unique in that it was literally inside of a rodeo. But in Texas, there was no air conditioning. It was really hot in that room. Unfortunately, at the Roxy, it was beautiful. It was a ballroom, awesome venue. But they had the air conditioning turned so high up because they thought it was going to be like a rock concert. It was probably 60 degrees in that venue, so everyone's hands were frozen. Typing was really hard, but a lot more beautiful, a lot more put together this time, but the vibes, probably Texas.
I never got a response when I sent you the text message when you took a picture of inside the room. When you say ballroom, I kind of joked to you, it looked a little bit like a high school dance.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of strange to do an MLB draft and have, like, chandeliers all over the place. It is definitely not a baseball vibe, but, I mean, like, the colors and the lighting, and there was a wall of baseball bats that were getting inscribed every time a pick was made. That was pretty sick. But yeah, it's definitely the duality between Texas and Atlanta was pretty stark.
I don't know. I thought Atlanta as a vibe for an All-Star week was really good. Certainly better than Texas because there was actually things around the ballpark. The venue was good. Like there's a whole baseball village. Like, did you like that part of it?
I thought the Battery was the coolest around the park community area of any park that I've ever been to. I mean, Fenway is really sick because Fenway is like, it feels old and it's pubby and, you know, there's spots to eat and you can just feel the history around Fenway. But in terms of like the buzz and things to do and places to eat and places to go and to see, I thought the Battery was sick. So I give Atlanta a 10 out of 10 for what they've built around Truist.
Okay, let's get into some of the draft stuff here. And obviously to start with the big fish and Kade Anderson. We were talking plenty before the draft. I didn't get the sense that Kade Anderson was going to fall to 3. I don't know exactly where you stood on it when we were talking that afternoon, but on a scale of 1 to 10, what was your surprise level that he was there?
I mean, I wasn't absolutely stunned that he was there. I think the thing that was stunning was the Angels took Bremner. Everything that I had heard and that I was led to believe was that Kade Anderson's floor was probably going to be 2. There was a chance that they could have gone, you know, Eli Willits if the Nationals would have done something a little bit unique, not named Eli Willits. So I think Bremner going 2 was the big surprise. You know, I probably put it at like a 15-20% chance that Anderson was going to be there at 3. And the Willits thing to the Nationals didn't surprise me at all. I had been hearing that in the days leading up to the draft. But Tyler Bremner going 2, you know, I told you guys when we were hanging out before the draft, I was like, I think Bremner is going to be the pick at 3. Like, I really do think Bremner is the buzzy name right now. For him to go 2 was probably the most stunning part of the entire evening. So, yeah, Kade Anderson being in Seattle, it's a perfect fit. Tyler Bremner going to the Angels, surprising.
Are they really going to pay him slot, like full slot value? I don't know if the actual numbers have come out yet, but Sam Blum of The Athletic asked people in the Angels front office after the draft saying, hey, Bremner is going for fairly under slot, right? And they went, well, not necessarily. So is he actually going to get like somewhat of a full slot deal?
I think it's going to be similar to the Kade Anderson type thing. I think it's probably going to be $700,000 or $800,000 off. The thing about Bremner is it's like if the Angels wanted Bremner the whole time and they knew Seattle was right behind them and they also wanted Bremner, they were going to have to pony up a bonus that was at or slightly higher than what Seattle was willing to offer at 3. And, you know, Seattle could have negotiated that thing pretty high as a counter to what the Angels were offering. So, no, I don't think it's going to be full slot. If he ends up getting full slot, that would be a choice. He is a very, very good pitcher, and I think he's very much worth, you know, $9.6 million. But if he gets anything more than slightly above the slot at number 3, I would be really stunned.
So why was Kade Anderson number 1 on the Mariners board? What made him stick out to them?
Pretty much the fact that he is everything that they have already conquered in Major League Baseball. Like, they've already figured this out. He's a strike thrower. He's got feel for spin. He's got 4 pitches. He can pitch backwards. His 4-seam is from an over-the-top slot. It hops through the zone. And he's lean, right? Like, you look at Kade Anderson and you're like, okay, this isn't a finished product. What is this going to look like with 8 to 12 pounds? We've already got the pitch mix that we like to develop. We can tinker with that just a little bit. I just think they're so confident with what they did with George Kirby. I think George Kirby is the perfect analogy here. Like, Kirby was very, very lean. He was kind of soft tossing when he was drafted out of Elon. Not soft tossing, but he was 91 to 94, and they turned him into a guy that can live, 95 to 97. I don't think Kade Anderson has the frame to get there, but I do think Kade Anderson could be the guy that lives 93 to 96 and occasionally grabs a 98. So, I mean, I guess to answer your question, like, everything that Kade Anderson already is what they've mastered from a pitching development perspective. I don't think there's another player in this draft that they're more confident they can get the most out of.
What is the timeline
so they already said
for
he's
someone like him? Because I feel like everyone looks at Kade. If they were going to pick a college pitcher there at number 3, they were going to go out and they were going to get someone that could get into the big leagues. In my estimation, in a year and a half, is that fair for Kade?
Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot that needs to be done with Kade. Like, I think you need to build him up physically. I think you need to get him stronger. I think you need to distance him, of course, from that Tommy John surgery from 3 years ago. But in terms of, like, teaching him how to spin the baseball, teaching him how to command the changeup, teaching him how to, get value out of the fastball, like, all of those things are kind of already complete. Now, I think they are going to have to teach Kade to be a little bit more dominant with the fastball. He pitched backwards a lot in college baseball. He liked to, strike guys out with the fastball. He liked to get ahead of guys with a backdoor slider. He liked to throw changeups to right-handed hitters early in counts. Like, these are all nice things to do, but I think you need to get him a little bit more conventional in how he's attacking hitters. Bully with the fastball, get more velocity, and things like that. So I guess, yes, I think like May or June of 2027 is probably what you're looking at. I would be stunned if Kade Anderson broke camp with the team in 2027, just because when's the last time you saw a, absolutely fresh, hasn't pitched in the big leagues pitcher start in the rotation with Seattle? Like, I can't recall. Maybe Michael Pineda was the last one to break camp with Seattle. So, yeah, I think he's probably going to have to get his feet wet in Tacoma in April of 2027, and then they'll probably call him up shortly thereafter if he stays healthy.
Do you mean 27 or 2026? Like, do you think
27?
Okay, so you think 26 is a full development year in the minors for him?
I mean, I just don't know. Short of Mariners pitchers getting hurt, I don't know the purpose of rushing him. Especially because, like, Kade Anderson isn't the type of arm that, you're waiting for, like, oh, we need all of these extra bullets. Like, Paul Skeens is on the horizon. Like, he's not that. Like, he's more of a number 3 starter. He's not going to go and single-handedly, like, win you buckets of games by himself in the 2026 season. So, assuming they keep Luis Castillo over the winter, which I think they probably will, I see no reason for Kade Anderson to be here earlier than 2027, short of help, we need arms.
Okay, so this is interesting. We talked through this a little bit on our show right after the pick, and this is why it's really helpful that you're well-versed and know the Mariners really well at the major league level and at the minor league level too, because we can talk through a couple of examples here. What we talked through is Luis Castillo was shopped around a pretty sizable amount last winter, and that no-trade clause goes up on January 1st. I'm not saying that I think Kade Anderson would break camp in 26 with the big league team by any means, but the idea that he'd be a fast riser and a quick mover gave us the idea of, well, they're probably going to trade Castillo at some point this winter, especially when the no-trade clause comes up, and then at some point in 26, Anderson fills the slot. Now, in your opinion, are we jumping the gun too fast with that?
Yeah, I think you're a year early. Because if you just kind of carve this thing out, I would be shocked if Kade Anderson pitched a single inning for the Seattle Mariners in 2025. You're talking about a guy that pitched 38 innings as a true freshman coming off Tommy John. He then ramped things up to 81 innings in 2025. Like, his workload jumped enormously into 2025. So I don't know if they're going to be in a hurry to put him at, like, 90 to 95 innings this year with some minor league ball. So I think he's going to go right into strength training and physical development. And then Kade Anderson, wouldn't you guys be absolutely shocked if he broke camp in 2026 outside of Everett? Like, you have to start him in Everett. You can't just send that guy right to Arkansas. So I assume he starts in Everett. Say he's absolutely dominating, like, best case scenario, he's just shoving. Then he goes up to Arkansas in early May. You probably have to pitch him 6 to 8 weeks at a minimum in Arkansas. That gets him up to Tacoma at the All-Star break. And at that point, you're probably coming up on 105 to 120 innings. And I'm just not sure Seattle's going to be in a huge rush to call him up and expose him to a 140 inning workload as a rookie in minor league ball.
The innings thing makes sense. I guess where my mind went was, if he's up, say, by next All-Star break, then it would be the Logan Evans, Emerson Hancock duo to fill that 5 spot if they were to move Castillo. And then around that time, you'd see Anderson get called up, because with the idea that he could be big league ready in a year. But the innings limit part of it, is something to seriously take into consideration. Because you're right. The one thing we talked about with Kade before he got drafted was, well, his only full seasons of workload were essentially his draft eligible sophomore year of college, and then like his sophomore, junior year of high school, I guess. Yeah, it's not a lot.
Yeah, and even that, like how much, I don't have it, but how many innings did he throw as a high school sophomore? Like, we're not even sure if this guy was the number one pitcher on his team as a high school sophomore. So he might have only thrown, 40 innings as a high school sophomore. And the other part of this that I think is really important to note is, we've seen this season Logan Gilbert get hurt. We've seen Bryce Miller get hurt. Assuming one of those guys gets hurt again, any of these guys gets hurt again in 2027, if you trade Luis Castillo, you're one injury away from a rotation that includes both Emerson Hancock and Logan Evans. And for a team that is like built on its rotation, and I think you guys would probably agree, we don't forecast this team to turn into a top 10 offense juggernaut next season. I would just hold on to all the pitching that you can and just run it back with the rotation that you've got, because you've got a really good thing. So unless Seattle has another one of those winners where they're like, God, we need to find $22 million. How are we going to find $22 million to build out the rest of this roster? We have to trade Luis Castillo. And the other part of that is like, you're trading Luis Castillo probably at an all-time low in terms of value. What are you going to get back for him? I mean, I'm not saying he's valueless, of course, but you're not going to get back some all-star level, Jordan Westberg type player. So I would just hold on to him because chances are someone's going to get hurt. And you do not want a rotation of Emerson Hancock and Logan Evans in 2026 if you hope to be a legitimate AL contender.
Where does Kade Anderson rank in the Mariners' top 30 prospects now?
He's 2 for me. He's, by a fraction of an inch right behind Colt Emerson. I have Colt 23. I have Kade Anderson 25. I think there's a pretty sizable gap between those guys and number 3. Farmelo I have at 48. So, yeah, they're both roll 55, potential for a single or a couple of all-star games in their career. That's how I project those 2 out.
All right, now that's a nice, easy lob question for you, Joe, to gear you up for this next one. Is it a red flag or a green flag that a guy that the Mariners drafted this past weekend eats more peanut butter and jelly sandwiches than Lyle Goldstein does?
That's a red flag. That's a red flag. That's a red flag. I don't know. I mean, Lyle, where would you rank on the Mariners' top 100 prospects?
1? No, I'm kidding. I don't know. Let's go with 300. Let's go with 300.
300?
I mean, how many minor leaguers are in the Mariners system? It's got to be close to that. So right at the damn near bottom of it.
It's funny. I asked Anthony Ianson, his teammate, in a pre-draft interview, and it's on YouTube if anybody wants to watch it. I said, you take the entire LSU roster and you go to the nicest steak dinner you can find. I'm talking team's going to pay for it, school's going to pay for it, order whatever you want. Who's the one guy that you do not trust to order food for the table? And his answer was Kade Anderson. So,
ooh.
Actually, it's kind of fun. Hey, listen, Seattle drafted Colt Emerson, and all he ate was like Subway with just turkey and cheese. So maybe it's like a Mariners thing.
What did he say Kade would order?
Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Oh, you're talking about Kade
Chicken
Anderson.
nuggets.
Maybe the Mariners have a thing.
Yeah, I think it's just like maybe they like the malnourished guys.
Well, because I was going to say, we're not even talking about Kade Anderson here. We were trying to segue here into Luke Stevenson because there was that report that came out that said dude eats 1,500 PB&Js a year. So, number one, this is like our dream, or my dream guest all of a sudden, because I need to compare notes. I need to ask him how he got into it. But even to put that aside, baseball-wise, what jumps out about Luke Stevenson? How good can he be?
I think he can be pretty good. He reminds me, you know, it's funny. Everybody seems to be doing these podcasts and these articles and stuff comparing Luke Stevenson to Cal Raleigh, which is just like, it's just not fair at all to Luke Stevenson. Like, you're talking about a guy that is coming off of the best first half that we've seen since Barry Bonds, and Barry Bonds is had the best first half in baseball history. I just think you want to kind of evaluate Luke Stevenson on his own merit. The way I look at it is he's a really good catcher. 70 grade throwing arm. I mean, he's going to hold the runners at bay. Big power. He's going to get into his legs. He's going to hit homers for the Mariners. I do have questions about the overall hit tool. Like, he doesn't chase. He's actually a pretty mature hitter. He stays inside of the strike zone, but he does really have trouble with spin. So you kind of question, like, once he gets to Double-A, when he starts seeing 86-mile-an-hour sliders, once he starts seeing, really advanced stuff, is he going to be a guy that is capable of hitting 275? I'm not really sure. The way I kind of look at it is, at a base case, you probably have Tom Murphy. Base case. Like, Tom Murphy was like a 235, 240 hitter who absolutely deleted fastballs when he was with Seattle and struggled with spin off the plate. And he had a really good throwing arm. He was a really undervalued defensive catcher. On the higher end of it, maybe, and I mean maybe, he could be like a Kyle Schwarber type of offensive producer if the at-bats are there, which I don't think they're going to be. Maybe he's a DH, but it's like that. It's that kind of power. I mean, he hit a ball 114 miles an hour this season. The power came on late. The power was always there in 2024 as a true freshman. So I think with only 2 years of a baseball card behind Luke Stevenson, we're all still trying to kind of figure out what he is. But I can say with pretty good confidence that he's going to have to adjust to Major League Baseball breaking balls. But he's going to absolutely murder fastballs. He's going to work good counts, and he's going to throw out base runners.
You said the Cal comparison is unfair, and I definitely get it. But what about the prospect version of Cal? Cal had plenty of question marks as a prospect coming up in the system. I'm curious how the two compare at this point for Luke.
I mean, I guess my pushback on that would be, doesn't every draft prospect that's a catcher have question marks? Like, outside of Adley Rutschman, like, all of them that get drafted are always like look at Harry Ford. It's like, even Harry Ford, he was the 11th pick in that draft. It was like, well, can this guy play catcher? Is he going to have to move to left field? This, that, so on and so forth. Like, the question marks with Cal were, is this guy going to be able to catch because he's so big? Like, this is a really big body. Is he going to slow down and not be able to catch because he's just too slow and too sluggish? Everyone's got those question marks, and I think it's just different for every catcher. But I think the crux of what you're saying is, catchers just inherently have yellow flags and red flags. And the hardest thing to do in scouting is identify a catcher that's going to stay behind the plate. I feel pretty confident that Luke Stevenson's going to do that.
What about their next pick on day one, Nick Becker? His speed is supposed to be his calling card. What else is he supposed to grow into?
Yeah, this is going to be a TikTok or Instagram short for you guys. The fact that Nicky Becker isn't getting talked about, by the way, he goes by Nicky Becker just for the fans out there. The fact that he's not getting talked about more is crazy. Like, to me, it seems like it was, Kade Anderson. And, Luke Stevenson, like, is Harry Ford going to get traded? This and that. Like, Nicky Becker, I saw Nicky Becker probably take 18 at-bats last year. The dude has legitimate plus raw power. He's a 70 runner. It's plus arm strength. It is every single tool that you want to see from a shortstop. He's got some stiffness in his hands that will need to be kind of polished up a little bit if he hopes to hit at the next level. But everything is here for Nicky Becker to become a star if the hit tool comes along. I talked to a lot of scouts along the way, last summer, this winter, and all of them always resort back to Gunnar Henderson. They always go, who's the Gunnar Henderson of a draft? Who's the Gunnar Henderson of a draft? Like, who's the guy that everyone's just going to miss on and is going to end up being a star? Well, this was what Gunnar Henderson was in high school. It was a really, really crude, raw hit tool and swing. The Orioles turned it into something more fluid and dangerous, and all of the other tools began to sing. The run, the hit tool, the power, the arm strength. That's what Nicky Becker has the capability to become. We're talking about a high school shortstop that's 6'4" and can run like the wind. Like, I cannot believe this is not getting more publicity.
Well, it's about to now. Like you said, it's probably going out on social media. The Mariners drafted a guy that might be Gunnar Henderson. Like,
hey,
yeah,
you make sure when you cut this that you include the part about the stiffness in his hands and the hit tool, because if you guys glaze the hell out of him and don't include that part, it's going to look bad for me. And I want the whole story there. I want the entire picture, okay?
We got you. We got you. We'll include both. So that's why he was overslotted at that pick. That's who the Mariners were trying to save a little bit of money for. That's who they were targeting. It's the idea of Nicky Becker and who he can be, is what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to get a lot of money. The number that I had heard, well, I won't even say that, but I had heard it was a pretty big number to get him away from the University of Virginia, where he was going to get the opportunity to play with his brother. I mean, that's an enormous opportunity for any family, right? It was going to have to be, hey, you're going to pay me like a first rounder, or I'm just going to go to Virginia and I'm going to play with Eric. So, yeah, I would imagine that, the Mariners saved, $700,000 or $800,000 on that first pick. I would think, the slot value for Nicky was like 1.6. I would think he's going to get at least what they saved on Kade, perhaps even a little bit more.
What's the difference from where Nicky Becker is right now as a draft prospect versus where Colt Emerson was a couple years ago when they drafted him?
Totally different players. Colt Emerson was one of the most distinguished, decorated high school hitters in the entire class in 2022 and 2023, playing for Team USA, playing on the showcases and the tournament circuit. Everyone just knew he was going to hit. Nicky Becker has way louder raw tools than Colt Emerson. Now, Emerson, everyone knew that he was going to be able to survive in professional baseball because of the swing and because of the baseball card and everything that he had done leading up to getting drafted. Nicky Becker had kind of an uneven summer last year where it was really good in Long Beach and then it was not so good the rest of the summer and it was just uneven. So the biggest thing is going to be with Nicky, like, are you going to hit? And by are you going to hit, that's how you get to your power. Like, I can come on this podcast all day and say, oh, it's plus raw power. Well, if you can't hit, then Javi Baez has plus raw power. So you have to find a blend between bat to ball and bat speed. And I think he's kind of going to learn how to get there. I'll opine this, though. When Johnny Farmelo was drafted 29 overall in 2023, the biggest question marks were every single time we show up to the ballpark. This kid has a different swing. He tinkers, and his feel for hitting in the box just isn't there, and it's going to be a process to teach him consistency in the box. And if you remember, Johnny was the very last Mariner to debut from that draft class as they continued to kind of work through what he was going to be, in full season ball. That's, that might be the case with Nicky. You might not see him in 2025. You might not see him until March or April of 2026, and that's okay because you want to do everything you can to reach in there and get all of those tools.
Let me rewind really quick before we keep going down the list, because when talking about Luke Stevenson, and I know you kind of alluded to it for a minute, but I do just want to touch on it with you. I don't think the Mariners are by any means drafting for need. That being said, because they took the catcher, do you think Harry Ford's here in 2 weeks?
I don't think Harry Ford is here in 2 weeks. I also don't think Luke Stevenson getting drafted was a direct signal of that. Like I said this on Seattle Sports. Seattle had Luke Stevenson as the best player on their board when he came up at 35. They expected him to be gone. I think you always take the best player that's available. And they probably knew at that point that they had some sort of deal for Becker lined up either there or at 59. So they took the best player on their board. I think the fact that they selected Stevenson and Grant J and Luke Heyman, who are all pretty good defensive catching prospects, signals that the organization thought that they were pretty lean in the catching ranks in their minor league system. And they were. I think you guys would agree. There's Harry Ford, and then give it a shot. Who's the next catching prospect? Josh Caron? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was going to say maybe Connor Sharping or somebody like that.
Exactly. And he was I think he was either a day 3 guy or undrafted free agent. So they needed catching depth no matter how you chalk it up. But I think the fact that they did draft 3 college catchers, Stevenson can probably go to Everett right away in 2026. I'm sure Grant J and Luke Heyman will either, one of them will go to Everett and one of them will go to Modesto or what have you. But the fact that they have so much more depth on the college catching side after this draft does signal to me, at least, that their willingness to move Harry Ford at the deadline, it has to have gone up.
The last pick on day 1 for the Mariners was Griffin Hughes, if I have that name pronounced correctly. So I think they're supposed to save money on this pick here. But also, he's kind of intriguing. He starts, and he's got some pretty decent stuff as well. What is the Is there a mold they're going after here? What's the intrigue with why they picked him at the end of day one?
I don't think he's going to be a money saver for what it's worth. We'll see. I don't have any information on that, but I had him in the third round. I know a lot of teams had him in the third round. If you would have asked teams in March or April, it was a second rounder. He just kind of fatigued as the season went on. But I think more than anything, Griffin Hughes is a switchback to what the Mariners do well. I thought it was really interesting in 2024 how sinker heavy they went. It was so many sinker ballers, both day 2 and day 3. This year, they grab a guy like Kade, who has a super vertical fastball, Griffin Hughes, who's kind of on the undersized side of things, a lower launch, a fastball that really carries through the zone, kind of that Brian Wu like mold. It's not the same launch traits. It's not the same uniqueness that Brian Wu is, but it's that undersized 6'1", 195-pound guy that, launches low and carries the ball through the zone and, pairs a low to mid-80s slider off of it. So, they've had so much success with that type of pitcher over the years. I was really surprised that they went to guys that throw such a heavy ball in 2024. So the fact that they landed him, and there's a couple other guys like that in the draft that they landed, I think is a positive development for what the team is good at.
Okay, if we're talking about low slot rising fastballs, I'm just going to skip past the fifth round. We'll get to Corbin Dickerson here in a second. The one highlight you tweeted of Lucas Kelly has my jaw on the floor. And I don't know how we didn't know about him sooner, since Lyle and I are ASU alums, and maybe we're just bad alums here. Watching that one fastball out of Lucas Kelly's hand really, almost blew my brains out.
I mean, that's one of the most disgusting pitches of the entire college baseball season. That was 99, just above the top rail with carry out of a 58-inch launch, and the batter just stood no chance. It was... I know you guys have probably heard this, and you don't need a rated R for your podcast, but that was an FU fastball. That was sick to end a game. That's not what Lucas Kelly always is. In fact, that pitch was probably the peak of what Lucas Kelly can be. It had the most vert of any pitches that month. It was, up to 99, but he's usually 92 to 95. Man, it's Paul Sewald, right? And they drafted 2 of these Paul Sewalds where they got that kind of, third base orientation, low slot, like to pitch the fastball at the top of the zone and pairs the sweeper off of it. I said on my podcast, I was like, if there's a guy that's going to get to Seattle in 2026 at Mach speed, it's Lucas Kelly, and he could probably pitch in the 6th or 7th inning as early as May or June of next year.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear it, because I got to tell you, the one thing the Mariners lack in this system until this draft, Sun Devils. So if you want somebody TJ and I are going to be blindly rooting for, Lucas Kelly. So yep. I was fired up to see them take him.
Well, let me ask you this, though. Then they draft his heir apparent and, bloodborne rival Casey Hintz in the 13th round. He's got a lower slot. He's even more Paul Sewald. He's got the exact same delivery. Arizona. So what are we going to do about that? Is it a race to the finish? Who gets to Seattle quickest?
See, I would sit here and say we have to root for him to flame out, but I can't do that. It's a Mariners podcast. Sure, let's do a race to the finish. Let's see who gets to the big leagues first. Let's pin them up against each other.
To your guys' credit, Lucas Kelly has touched 99. Casey Hintz has touched 93. I think you're off to a lead.
All right, good to hear it. I like to ask you this question now every year we have you on after the draft, because for those who don't remember, 2 years ago, Joe essentially nailed this question about as well as you can when I asked him. Of the guys that weren't drafted high, who are a couple to watch for, who are a couple guys that really jump out to you that went in the later rounds. 2 years ago, you told us Logan Evans and Brody Hopkins. So you absolutely nailed that in 23. I'm not saying you're going to have a crystal ball every year, but of this class, of the guys that weren't drafted extremely high, of the guys that people aren't paying as close attention to, who jumps out to you of the rest of this class?
This is a lot of pressure after that draft. I think the guy that stands out for me is probably Jackson Steensma. 6'5", 250 pounds, did not pitch in 2025. He missed the entire season with injury, but he was pretty good in 2024. He's been up to 96 with the fastball. It's got some carry. It's a big body. I wonder how quickly they bring him on, but he's a strike thrower. It's 4 pitches. I think they need to firm up the breaking ball a little bit from what it was in 2024, but this is also a guy that's going to be 2 years older, 2 years stronger, and he's got great size. So I think, Jackson Steensma, I actually had, I think, a 6th round grade on, and he goes in the 9th. So I would feel pretty good about that one. The other one is going to be Mason Peters, who was the 4th round pick. And this was actually a whiff by me. So I watched quite a bit of Mason Peters in March and early April, and they were just using him in so many different roles out of the bullpen. It was just tough to crack that rotation. And so I kind of logged him down as a 7th or an 8th inning reliever, but I went back and looked at his metrics, and he's 5'11". He gets huge extension down the mound, which is always a great building block for building a starting pitching prospect. Up to 96, again, high spin, up at the top of the zone, upper 70s curveball that has a chance to be legitimately plus. My only question on Mason Peters is probably going to be, because he's 5'11", how long are they going to stick with him in the rotation? Like, is this going to be a legitimate starting pitching prospect for a year or a year and a half? Or are they just going to shove him into the 8th inning in Everett right away and, get him throwing 95 to 96 with a hammer? So I would say Mason Peters and Jackson Steensma, and I feel pretty good about that.
What about Corbin Dickerson? And for those who don't know, they drafted him out of Indiana in the 5th round. There are some tools there. He's supposed to be a plus runner, plus defender, and he hit 19 home runs this past year, but his approach needs some work in terms of if he's going to advance well in the minor leagues. How much work does the approach need?
I don't even know if it's approach as much as it is. I don't know. This is going to sound worse than it is. I don't know if Dickerson identifies spin out of the hand very well. It might just be one of those things that he always kind of struggles with, and he'll have to formulate a way to get into fastball counts, ambush counts. But I think you skipped the fact that he hit a ball 116 miles an hour this season. It's a plus glove, it's a plus arm, it's plus run times, it's plus raw power. He fills up a scouting report like it's nobody's business. But kind of in a similar vein to Luke Stevenson, the question marks are well, if this guy's going to run a 35 or a 40% whiff rate against sliders, is he going to be able to get past AA? Is he going to get stuck at AA? How long is it going to take for him to be able to survive against advanced big league breaking balls? If he can get over that hill, if he can get over that crest, Corbin Dickerson has a chance to be a starting outfielder in Major League Baseball. But that's a tall hill to climb. Being able to hit a breaking ball is a critical part of being a big leaguer.
This might just totally be out of left field, but is this like a Jesus Sanchez? Is that what that idea is? Am I off on that?
That's a pretty good call, actually. Yeah, obviously pretty different players, but I can see where you're going with that. Yeah, I don't hate that.
Last question for you, Joe, and this is a little bit more big picture, but this class as a whole, where does the upside compare to some of the last few drafts that the Mariners had?
So I said this again on another podcast. I apologize for hitting with you guys second. I think this is the best draft class that they've had in a long time, to be honest. I actually like this class better than 2023, which I know is maybe a hot take. I think the balance and blend and upside and everything and the floor, I just think this class is one of the most balanced that Scott Hunter has put together as a Mariners scouting director. And that's kind of saying a lot, because I went into the 2025 draft thinking this is a slightly below average class, and it kind of falls off pretty steep after the 4th round. And for Seattle to land, of course, Anderson, Stevenson, the obscene ceiling of Nicky Becker and Hughes in the first 3 rounds, I thought was excellent. But then they landed guys like Corbin Dickerson. They took a shot on a Corbin Dickerson. I think guys like Lucas Kelly and Mason Peters are big leaguers. I'll just put it that way. And then you have a couple of guys in Steensma and Isaac Lyon who I think in the Mariners high performance camp could turn themselves into some pretty legitimate starting pitching prospects in Major League Baseball. Couple that with the fact that they added Grant Jay and Luke Heyman, a position that was of serious need, and I quite like what they did with this class. I just think they checked so many boxes. They filled positions in their farm system that were dreadfully lacking, and there is some, outside shot for all-star potential here. So I thought it was a masterclass.
Joe, this has been fantastic as always. You are a dear friend of this podcast. We always appreciate the insight. So thanks so much for taking some time for us.
You guys are friends as well. Anytime.
Well, shout out to Joe. We always love talking with him. I hope you guys learned a bunch about this draft class. I got to tell you, we're pretty excited about Nicky Becker all of a sudden. Not that you shouldn't have been before, because he was always going to be the high school infielder that probably got an overslot for where he was drafted at. But to hear who he could be and to hear the tools he's got, yeah, get fired up. Get fired up about him, about Kade Anderson, about Luke Stevenson, about a bunch of these guys. Joe breaks it down as well as anybody, so we love talking to him. We really hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. We hope you guys learned more about this draft class, and we can't wait to see how they progress moving forward. That just about wraps up this edition of the Marine Layer Podcast. You guys know the drill. If you want to find all of our stuff, it's all over at our website, marinelayerpod.com. If you're listening to these episodes, which you can find over at our website, make sure to download, rate, and review 5 stars. If you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, and please hit that subscribe button. It's the best way you can support the channel. Go get your merch. Go sign up for our Patreon if you're interested. And please come check out our live show after the game tonight. Mariners Astros at the end of the game over at the Hall on Occidental. It's on the north end of Lumen Field on Occidental Avenue. We're going to be hanging out, having some drinks, just talking ball. Pretty casual, really laid back. We can't wait to see you guys. It's really going to be a blast. So come on and check it out, especially if you're going to be down at the ballpark. You can find all of that over at marinelayerpod.com and follow us all across social media at marinelayerpod. That's TJ. I'm Lyle. As always, we thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.